Very brutal climb. We just met a guy that had to turn back 600 feet from the summit because he didn't think he'd make it down in time. Absolutely exhausted.
Here's 7 things that I wish I would have known, plus you need to know before summiting Mount Shasta. Shasta has a 50% success rate, so stick around to the last tip because I think that is the best tip that will help you reach the summit. Let's get into it. So number 1, if it's a low snow year, I would really recommend probably not bringing skis. I know this sounds like heresy and this is like really bad, but a typical season of skiing would be like April, May, June. It was early April. I thought that there would be decent enough snow there. I actually had to keep my Splitboard skis on my back for about 2.5 miles. So that was actually past horse camp. So that really ended up being about 5 miles total there and back, carrying my skis on my back. And that was no really light task and kind of set me up for exhaustion for later on in the summit. So really consider snow levels. I think we were at 50% of normal. Really read trip reports and determine if it is worth it to you to actually bring skis or not. If I was to do it again, I definitely would not have brought my skis and I just would have boot packed it all the way up to the summit because I think it really added to the exhaustion that I was feeling later on in the day. Number 2, the Bunny Flats campground, if you choose to camp there, is actually relatively quiet and was super nice. Now I was there on a Wednesday night and Thursday night and it was super quiet. Everybody was very respectful. This is the total opposite of the Timberline parking lot when I did Mount Hood and people were rolling in constantly, and there was just a ton of people there. Number 3, altitude. Somehow I forgot how brutal altitude can be. Out of all the lessons that I learned on the JMT, I learned them all over again. Most lessons are learned, some are just forgotten, was a quote that was constantly in replay in my head. Be aware of altitude. I know it doesn't sound like you're gonna be up there for that long, but it's definitely gonna have an effect on you. It's gonna make you a lot slower. Adjust your times accordingly, and if you are seeing that you're going slow, just make sure that you are adjusting your times so that you can tag the summit and get down before dark. So how to mitigate altitude? You really got to make sure that you're drinking your electrolytes and that you're eating as much as possible. Both of those things are harder to do at altitude. But then the third thing is to subscribe to this channel and like this video. Number 4, sunscreen. Make sure, again, that you're bringing sunscreen. Thankfully, the buddy I was with brought sunscreen. I reapplied it twice. I don't know if you can see my neck here, but I'll put some B-roll up of how bad I got absolutely fried. I got blisters on the back of my head. I got blistered lips again. So make sure that you are bringing sunscreen or you're wearing sun protective clothing. Definitely an SPF chapstick is super key. I thought that for me that it wasn't going to be that bad because it was a early spring sun. But it is really bad. I mean, it's reflecting back in your face from the snow, and it was a bluebird day. I just ordered a really cool thing for my hat, and so hopefully that'll protect the back of my neck for more mountain summits and just hiking in general. So I'll leave a link to that in the description. Number 5, I totally packed the wrong food, so I realized that I needed more sugary foods. Because everything really wasn't palatable to me when I was at elevation, I didn't really want to eat my Spam sandwich. It didn't sound as good as it sounds right now. So that really just made me really behind in my calories and even more exhausted than I should have been. Now, I had brought a lot of fat and a lot of things that really needed to digest a lot, but they just weren't, again, palatable to me. My buddy, on the other hand, had brought a lot of fast-acting carbs and a lot of fast-acting sugars. He gave me some of the high chews on the way down, and I immediately felt a great sugar rush from that. Something to consider is most of the foods that are going to be hard to digest will be not that palatable to you, especially at this high of elevation. Consider bringing some sugary treats, things that people like trail runners would bring, Swedish fish, some maybe goose, things like that. And another thing that you could do is actually put calories in your water in the form of Tailwind or maltodextrin, just things to get you calories when you're not really feeling like eating. 6, this one goes for the splitboarders out there. I am so done with soft boots for splitboarding. I said this on my Mount Hood video, but that I was done with soft boots. Again, apparently I forgot this lesson. Especially after Helen Lake, there is some pitches where it does get a lot more steep. And the buddy that I was with was able to front point in his mountaineering boots while my calves kept flexing and taking the brunt of the force as I was going uphill in my soft boots. Again, this is super inefficient. I mean, for me, I just was struggling through these sections where people with mountaineering boots were just front pointing into them and then just crawling up them. Probably what I will do from now on is just bring a separate pair of boots, my mountaineering boots, or I'm gonna have to switch to hard boots. I haven't figured that part out yet. Now, the thing that I think is going to help the most people reach the summit is this. And I would say breaking it into 2 days. Now, most people watching this might have already had that in their head in the first place, but they might have thought, well, maybe let's do a 1-day push. For the average person, that a 1-day push is way too much. For me, I was totally exhausted, almost didn't reach the summit, probably only reached the summit because I was with my buddy who was mainlining me some easy to digest calories. It was super difficult because it's just a large push. Add on the carrying the skis, and to be honest with you, I also had a calcium overdose. I know. Don't eat so many Tums. I also had a calcium overdose the day before I went. Threw up a couple hours ago. Couldn't sleep. Headache. Oh, wow. Don't eat too many Tums. Where I was so sick that I actually had to text my girlfriend to get me socks from the other room because I couldn't get up. So that might have had something to do with it. But I would say the easiest way to increase your chances is to break this up into 2 days, camp at 50-50 flat, camp at Helen Lake. Thanks for watching. Here's my Mount Shasta video. And then here are a few things that I wish I would have known before climbing Mount Hood.